Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. A brutal all-girl gang attack on an honor student cheerleader, all on video, intended for MySpace online, lands felony charges for the real-life mean girls. As of tonight, all 8 bonded out of jail and walking free. And just how did Dr. Phil inject himself in all of this?
Horrifying images from Lakeland, where police say 6 girls ages 14 to 17 pummeled another teenager. They said she was trash-talking them on the internet.
It was a pack mentality, and they really didn't care how bad they hurt her.
The girls allegedly intended to post the attack on YouTube, but a parent intercepted it.
Bonded the teen for $33,000, and now the question remains, did the popular TV shrink pay to get ownership of this high-profile case?
Okay, the whole thing with Dr. Phil apparently bonding the last girl out of jail, that's a whole nother can of worms. We'll get right to that. But first of all, I want to hear about the single biggest story going on in that area of the country right now. It's all about a bunch of mean girls in this video. Explain to me, Rory O'Neill, joining us right now from Metro Networks, what is the latest?
Well, as you reported, that the last of the suspects in the case, the 18-year-old, Stephen Shoemaker, he did bail out last night. So he was the last one of the group to be set free. Most were charged as adults and made their first appearance in court back on Friday. And Shoemaker got out just last night. And it was Friday night that the 17-year-old Mercedes Nichols was the girl who was released with the help, we believe, of Dr. Phil's program.
Now, you say that they've all bonded out. What was the bond?
It ranged anywhere from $31,000 up to $37,000.
Excuse me, from what to what?
$31,000 to $37,000.
$31,000 to $37,000. Let's unleash the lawyers. Daniel Horowitz, defense attorney out of the San Francisco jurisdiction, and Ellen Ripka joining us from New York. To you, Horowitz, everybody knows that $37,000 really means $3,700. You only have to put up 10% of your bond amount. Exactly. You can get that overnight from a bail bondsman.
Well, you know, Nancy, I mean, for most people, that's still a lot of money. And the next issue is...
I'm not saying it's not a lot of money. I'm saying that they don't actually have to put up any of their own money. If you own a home, if you own a car, all you have to do is sign a note and you walk free. That's what these girls did. Right,
that's the interesting issue. Do they have houses to put up? Because you pay 10% every year to the bail bonds company, but you also have to put up security, usually, unless the bonding company waives it. So they have to have a house or some substantial asset, a really nice car, to be worth used $30,000.
And to Alan Ripka, everyone's making a big deal about the on-air shrink, Dr. Phil, injecting himself into this thing and bonding the last girl out. Bottom line, anybody in this country, if you want to go on down, shuffle on down to the jail and bond somebody else out, you can. It doesn't matter.
That's right, Nancy. The bail bondsman doesn't care who gives them the 10%. They're going to make money later. In this particular case, he had an agenda. He wanted to get a story, so he thought he'd get her out of jail.
Bethany, Dr. Bethany Marshall, psychoanalyst and author, is joining us tonight. Dr. Bethany, is that a violation of any type of ethical code?
Well, I would imagine, I mean, Dr. Phil is a mental health professional, and you know as a mental health professional that you don't reward kids for bad behavior.
Oh, wait a minute. Do you see the monitor, Bethany? Look at this. Did you see that? They're all crying and looking down. They've got their hair all down their face. Don't look at me. No, hello. These are the same girls that brutally beat another girl on video so they could become celebrities on MySpace.
These kids are completely disconnected from the brutality of what they did, and I think what we're going to discover is that there was basic, primitive, pathological envy, which is they felt this girl had something they didn't have. She was cuter, a better cheerleader, maybe she had a bigger house. And what did they do? They tried to destroy the object of their envy. You think you're cute? Oh, we'll see how you look after I bash in your face. You think you're smart? Well, you're not going to be so smart after you're rendered unconscious. You think you're more popular than us and the other kids like you? We'll see how you feel after we humiliate you on YouTube.
Speaking of how she looks, back to Rory O'Neill with Metro Networks. How does she look? We have heard that the girl victim has 2 black eyes. She still is suffering from loss of vision, some loss of hearing. What do we know about the condition of the victim, Rory O'Neill?
Well, she is still recovering from a concussion, which she also suffered from the attack. So her father has said he won't talk in any more specifics now about his daughter's condition, but he did say, reaffirm that, again, she is still trying to heal from the loss of hearing and the loss of vision in the left eye, but she's also trying to get over that concussion, and that can take a while, especially for someone of that young age.
To Dr. Steve Sina, Deputy Chief Medical Examiner, joining us out of Miami. What is a concussion?
A concussion is basically a jarring of the brain due to an impact to the head.
You know, bottom line, these girls look so meek and mild in court. They don't look too meek and ow! In this video, did you see that right punch right to the face? Out to the lines, Chad in Florida. Hi, Chad.
Hi, I was just wondering, how much time do you think each suspect will just spend in jail, or what their punishment will be?
Excellent question. We know, Chad, in Florida, that they are not going to be treated as juveniles. Now, that involves what is called the bind over process. If you are a teen, under usually 17 or 18, you go to juvenile court, where you get the maximum of maybe 2 years in a dormitory juvenile hall. If it's a certain designated felony, such as kidnapping or aggravated assault or aggravated battery, such as in this case, the judge in juvenile court has the ability to bind you over to adult court, and that is what has happened in this case. So let's take a look at it. Eben Brown, investigative reporter, what exactly are the charges, the adult charges against these girls and these two boys who acted as lookouts?
Good evening, Nancy. The charges range from kidnapping to misdemeanor battery and to witness tampering. And all of these teens that are charged are facing life imprisonment.
Life imprisonment on what? The kidnapping or the ag battery?
On the kidnapping and the battery, as well as witness tampering. A couple of these teens threatened this victim, saying, if you go to the police, if you tell anybody about what happened, we'll make the next one even worse. The police and the state's attorney's office are considering this to be witness tampering, threatening of a witness to a crime, and that's been tacked on to what they're charged with. All of this means they could be spending the rest of their lives in prison if they're found guilty.
To Rory O'Neill, who is the attacker right there in the white tank top and the pink pants? It's not a secret anymore. Who is she?
I'm afraid I can't see the playback, so I don't know exactly which one you're talking to here.
You know, I can't, from this angle, I can't tell which is which. They've all appeared in court. Speaking of in court, Rory O'Neill, the charges go from kidnapping to aggravated battery. In answer to Chad in Florida's question, they could face life behind bars on adult charges. Rory, what exactly happened in court?
They just made a quick, brief appearance. It's done via remote from outside at the jail in Polk County, which is a relatively rural county located between Orlando and Tampa. They just made an initial appearance via video conference with the judge, and the bond was set. The girls actually said nothing at the hearing, and one or two of them were seen almost trying to control laughter at the time they made their appearance in court. But the parents were not in the courtrooms with them. They're not allowed in there. So it was a very simple, quick proceeding that took place just after they were charged.
Did you just tell me that some of them were laughing in court at this hearing you're seeing? This looks like is this an in-jail court hearing?
It is. It is a hearing room that is set aside for this video link up with the court.
I can tell from the cement block walls that this is no ordinary courtroom. So are you telling me that some of these girls were still laughing as they were in their bond hearing?
Yes, one or two of the girls could be seen either nervous. We'd like to think it's nervous giggling, but.
To Mike Brooks, thoughts?
Nancy, you know, they ought to tack on contempt of court. I mean, if they were in front of a judge, the judge wouldn't have put up with that. But this video, the whole video thing, put him in front of a judge, let him feel like what it's really like in a courtroom. Now, you know, when we look at all this, these kids who were not kids, adults who were involved in this, they beat that girl, Nancy, for 30 minutes. 30 minutes is a long time. And one of the lookouts who was outside, one of the boys, had to tell them to keep it down, to not make so much noise, because the neighbors were starting to wonder what was going on in that house. It's just disgusting.
You know what, Brooks? You know what? You and I have both dealt with cases where the pack mentality took over and defendants did things as a pack. that they would not normally have done alone. It is a miracle that this girl didn't end up dead or with more serious injuries.
You're absolutely right, Nancy, but they lured her there. They knew exactly what they were going to do. You know, did they plan to beat her, you know, within inches of her life? Who knows? But I tell you what, you're absolutely right. She's very lucky that she got